Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I am Bronwyn Slade. To participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM or on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You're always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available from me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled from Monday through Thursday from 9 till 10 in the morning, and we are now in our 7th week of our 9-week course. At this point, you definitely should have submitted some work already and hopefully more soon for marking. A reminder that the support questions are not for marking, they're practice problems. So you decide which ones and how many to do. If you're understanding the concept, feel free to skip the questions and decide which ones you need to do. If you need more practice, let me know and I will send you more practice. However, the key questions are the ones marked with the key icon, and they are the ones to submit for grading. So please do all of these questions, showing all of your work, your steps, and your thinking. There are 3 different methods for submitting your work for marking. The first is to scan your work and send it electronically. You can scan your completed work in through a smart device. If you have an iPhone, Apple device, you can use the Notes app, or if you have an Android device, you can use the Google Drive app. Both have scan functions that are fairly straightforward. If that doesn't work for you and you prefer to just take a picture, that's makes your life easy, that is fine too. The files are just a little bit bigger and might be a little bit more awkward to send, but that's okay if that's what works best for you. Then you can send them to me either through email at studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux-Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at our 74 Front Street location. We're the bright red building next to the post office. We have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance, so you can just put it in there at any time. Then our third method is to hand your work into your DEC. So your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook and my YouTube channel are under the name B. Slate Wahsa. So if you'd like to find me on Facebook or subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get notifications every time I upload one of our lessons. All of our lessons are recorded and I upload them to YouTube and share them on Facebook. There's also short videos explaining common errors and confusing concepts on my YouTube channel. So that can be a good place to go if you're struggling with a concept and you just want to check out to see if there are some suggestions on how to deal with it, or if you're making the same mistake over and over again or something like that. Math is an incredible visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos as well as listening to the audio. You're only going to get a very small portion of the information if you're just listening to what I'm saying. Math is about organizing and making connections. So seeing what is on my screen is really, really going to set you up for the most success. So again, you can do that by joining live through Zoom. You don't have to ask questions. You don't have to talk to me. Just watching through Zoom is totally fine. It won't bug you. Or watching the replays on YouTube. If you can't do that because you don't have reliable internet or something, let me know and I can send you a copy of the recordings so that you can still access them and be successful in the course. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My email address is bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca and my Facebook is B. Slate Wahsa. My phone number at the office is 807-737-1488, extension 2209. And you can call toll free at 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So that's the easiest time to get a hold of me in the office directly, though I do teach the first hour and the last hour of my day. So that I won't be available in those moments. All right, let's dive into our lesson today. So we're starting unit 3, no, sorry, not unit 3, unit 4, our last unit. So lesson 16, we're looking at vehicle costs. So our learning goals are that at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify and describe the cost of having a vehicle, and you will understand the fuel consumption costs. Success criteria are that you know the various costs involved in owning a vehicle, and you can calculate the fuel consumption and gas costs. But let's first activate our brain and do some mental math. I do believe that mental math is a useful tool. Having facts that you're comfortable with in your head can really set you up for success in various other things, not having to start from scratch every single time. But I don't believe that mad math minutes, where you sit for a minute and you drill as many facts as you can, necessarily is helpful for most people. It can be fine if you already are comfortable with your facts and can help you recall them more quickly, if that's the skill that you're working on. But learning your actual facts, doing mad math minutes, isn't going to help you actually learn the facts. So developing strategies, which is what we do, so that you can apply them in various situations, is much more of a useful way of spending our time. So our question today is 25 times 48, and we're going to use the strategy of doubling and halving. So we're going to double one of our factors and halve the other one, and this is going to give us the same, still gives us the same result as if we just multiply 25 times 48. We're still going to get the same result if we double one and halve the other. So to me, 25, I know, is half of 50, because I think of quarters, and I think 1 quarter is 25 cents and 2 quarters is 50 cents. So I'm going to double 25 and get 50. And that means that I'm going to have 48. So I'm going to divide that in 2, cut it in half, and having 48. Okay, so half, so I know it's 24, but if I don't know that it's 24, half of 40 is 20 and half of 8 is 4. So 20, that's another way I can get to 24. Okay, so I still don't know what 50 times 24 is, so I'm going to do it again. So 50 I can times by 2 and get 100. That I can do. And 24 divided by 2 is, again, 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that's good. So half 24 is 12. So at this point, I can see, and I can go, well, 100 times 12 is going to be 1200. So I could keep on doubling and halving if I wanted to, or I can just look here and say, okay, well, that now I can see that that's 1200. So 1200. So if this 100 times 12 is 1200, then that means that 25 times 48 is 1200. And that's how doubling and halving can be really, really useful when you're multiplying, particularly large numbers that are harder, that might be hard to remember. I don't have 25 times 48 memorized at all, but that didn't take too many steps to get to figuring out what it was fairly straightforwardly. Okay, so what in prior learning might we need today? So I just wanted to first, before we dive into the actual costs of vehicle, is understanding the specs or the specifications in ads. So I'm going to link us to auto123.com, which hopefully it's going to link me to, please, which is just has a bunch of different listings of different vehicles. Okay, this is not working for me. Come on. Sorry, my PowerPoint is giving me issues. So just give me a second while it restarts. And we are just going to go to where we were. Okay, I'm not going to click on that again because that didn't like me. Okay, so auto123.com shows us different buying cars. So you can look at either new cars or used cars, and you can pick, I'm just going to randomly pick something. So that we can look at specifications. So then we're going to go Grand Caravan minivan from 2019. And I want to find, so here they tell us the price, which we've talked about before, the MSRP price, which is the sales basic price. But then what some things that we're going to look into today are the fuel consumption. So how many liters per kilometer, 100 kilometers, which we're going to talk about, it does. So it tells us here in the city and in the highway, there's two different fuel consumption rates. They tell you the engine and all of these other things, transmission power, door seats. So it can give you, you can look for that sort of places for information about the vehicle. Really, I don't know. I don't understand this too much. This is not my area of understanding, but really what we need to know is that fuel consumption. This is one place that you can look here if you're looking for fuel consumption rates of vehicles. So there's a lot of information on there. You don't necessarily need to know it all, and that is okay, but there can be a useful place to go and understand what is going on a little bit. So let's dive into what is actually new and what we're actually going to be calculating today. So when will you use this in real life? Well, we're strengthening our comfort with numbers. So again, there's many places in life that the math shows up and it might make us uncomfortable, and having comfort with numbers means that we have more information. We can figure out how much is it worth driving the extra kilometer to get to the gas that is 5 cents cheaper. Is it worth driving 100 kilometers to get to the gas that's 5 cents cheaper? Is it worth things like that? You can just sort of, it's more comfortable that you are with numbers, the more information you have and the more power that you have. Okay, so let's look at what are car expenses. This is on page 3 of your aisle booklet because we're now in unit 4. So to start off, everyone knows cars are expensive. That shouldn't be a surprise. But in addition to the cost of actually buying the vehicle, there's the maintenance cost, insurance, the average gas cost per year, which is continuing to increase. Gas is getting more and more expensive constantly. So some of these costs are monthly and others of these costs are yearly. So your maintenance, you're not doing oil changes or you're not doing repairs every month, but over the course of the year, you're going to put a certain amount of money into maintenance. Whereas gas, you're putting money probably into your car every month. And so that's more of a monthly cost. So some of the costs, and there probably are others, but some of the costs to think about are your insurance, which is probably you're probably paying monthly, though you can pay it yearly. They base it on a yearly amount and then they break it up into monthly payments so that it's more accessible. Your registration, so you have to pay to have your registration, which goes into road maintenance and things like that to make sure that our roads are in good shape. Your car payments, if you're still paying off your car, which many of us probably are. Then also just regular use, so gas, oil, wiper fluid are all things that you just regularly need to put into your vehicle. Then you also need to do oil changes with oil filters, changing of air filters, having tires, changing your tires, having your winter tires and your summer tires, depending on where you live. But in Canada, especially in Northwestern Ontario, you probably have 2 sets of tires. And then any sort of replacement parts and repairs, which might be unexpected, are all costs that you kind of need to plan for. Even though they're unexpected, you need to plan for the unexpected. So we're going to just dive into an example about how you sort of can think about these costs. So the following are car expenses for Zia that Zia experienced for 1 year. What was her average monthly cost? So what you can do is you can, by planning for the unexpected, is you can sort of think about, okay, this is how much it's going to cost me in a year. So like overall, all of the things. So I'm going to figure how much that is in a year, divide it by 12, and then I can save monthly. I can put this much a monthly away in my budget so that there's money there when I need it. So all of these are the yearly costs. So we have $130.74 in oil changes. We have a yearly $3,480 $68 in gas. We have $35 in wiper fluid. We have $22 on the air filter. We have $1,554 in insurance and $4,472 in car payments. So to figure out those are all our costs over a year. To figure out the monthly, we are going to just add them up. Instead of rewriting them, I'm just going to not going to rewrite them. I'm just going to add them up on my calculator. So we have 130.74 for oil changes. We have 3, 4, 6, 8 gas, 35 for wiper fluid, 22 for air filters, 1,554 for insurance, and 4,472 for car payments. So that's a total of $9,681.74. $9,800. I don't remember. I couldn't find my pen. $9,681.74. Okay, so that is the total yearly amount. But we're looking for the monthly amount. So to find the monthly average, we're going to take our yearly amount, our total yearly amount, and divide it by 12, because there's 12 months in a year. So we have $9,681.74 divided by 12. Equals $806.81. So Zia could save every month, could put aside $806.81 in, and just in her budget. Doesn't have to be a separate account or something, just in her budget, earmark that much money every month for her vehicle. And then when she has to do, she doesn't have to do an oil change every month, but when it has to happen, there's money there to do it. Or her gas, some months are going to have more gas than other months. And so there's always money there for gas to happen. Her insurance and car payments, which come out probably monthly, are going to happen. There's going to be money there for that to happen. So this is just one way of budgeting for expenses that happen that are kind of unexpected or are variable, aren't always going to be exactly the same. So you can't just say, I'm always going to have, I know that it's always going to cost me $500 every single month for my car. That's not how cars work. So you can budget $806.81, and that's going to cover your costs over the course of the year, most likely. So Zia's average monthly cost. It's $806.81. And remember, because it says average means that some months it's probably going to be more and some months it's probably going to be less. All right, so suppose Zia drove 43,079 kilometers in that 1 year. How much did it cost her per kilometer? So how much did her vehicle cost per kilometer? So we're talking about, this is a total. So we're looking for cost per kilometer. So that means that we're going to look for total cost divided by total kilometers. So are we going to use 806.81? That's the number that we found at the end. No, that is not our total yearly cost. We're looking for our total, that's our total monthly cost, our average monthly cost. We're looking for our total yearly amount. So we're going to use the $9,681.74. Because that's our total cost for the year, because this we're comparing it in the same time span. So we need to do our total kilometers compared to our total dollars in the year. So then divide that by 43,079 kilometers. And we know that we're doing dollars divided by kilometers because in the question it says cost per kilometer. So that means that we do cost divided by kilometer. Per is like divided. So if it was kilometer per dollar, then we would do kilometers divided by dollar, but that's not what we're doing. We're doing dollars per kilometer. So again, we now going to use our calculator. So we have $9,681.74 divided by 43,079 kilometers is equal to 22 cents per kilometer. So 0.22, that's 22 cents per kilometer. So for every kilometer that she drove in that year, she paid 22 cents. And that's what that question is asking. This is not something that I have ever figured out. I don't know why you might want to figure it out, but it's something that whoever wrote your IELTS booklet thought that it was important. So we're learning about it at this point. It may be something that I'll research more in the future, but why it might be useful to know. Okay, so now you can do the support questions on page 4 to 6, questions 1 through 4. So that's the combination of adding up your total costs and calculating the cost per kilometer in a year. All right, so now we're going to look at fuel efficiency. So this is on page 6 of your IELTS book. So fuel efficiency, very simply, refers to the distance you can travel on amount of fuel. So what qualifies as fuel efficient? So anything that is listed as less than 6 liters per 100 kilometers or more than 16.5 kilometers per 1 liter. So remember, that's the different way in terms of liters per kilometer or kilometers per liter. We could compare it in either way. That's considered to be pretty good fuel efficiency. So it means you're getting a pretty good amount of travel per amount of fuel. So you're not using up fuel really fast, because that's not what we want to do. We want to use our fuel up and get a fair distance. So generally, the lower the number of liters stated, the better the fuel economy. So how we measure fuel efficiency? In Canada, we do liters per 100 kilometers. And in the US, they do miles per gallon. So if we go back to our specs here that we looked at briefly, here where it says fuel consumption, so we have 13.7. So that is 13.7 liters per 100 kilometers when you're in the city, and 9.4 on the highway means 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway. So that's how you read it. Okay, so let's see how this actually makes a difference. So we have two cars, car A and car B. Doesn't matter what they are. Who cares? Their yearly driving average is 14,750 kilometers for both. That's how much they drove on average in a year. Their fuel economy, car A is 4 liters per 100 kilometers. Car B is 5 liters per 100 kilometers. So it takes car B 1 more liter of gas to drive the same distance as it does for car A. Well, 1 more liter doesn't seem very much, right? If you think about a liter of milk, that's not a huge amount. Okay. So, but for every 100 kilometers, it costs car B 1 more liter than car A. So then we figured out how many liters is it required for the whole year. So for car A to drive that whole distance of 14,750 kilometers, it is 590 liters for that year. That's how much gas they went through. For car B to travel the exact same distance, but with the 5 liters per 100 kilometers, now it costs them 737 liters. So almost 150 liters more over the course of the year for gas. So then the fuel costs, if we say the fuel costs $1.25 a liter, which it currently doesn't, it costs more like $2.25 in some places, like Subico. But anyway, then it's going to cost car A $737.50 for the year in gas, and car B $921.25 for the gas in the year. So that's a lot. That's a pretty difference. That's like $200 difference for that 1 liter. So even with a 1 liter difference in fuel efficiency, the owner of car B will need another 147 liters of fuel and spend an extra $183.75 than owner of car A. And all that for just 1 extra liter per 100 kilometers. So think if it is 5 extra or like just, right? It's just something to consider about how much money you're going to end up spending because how much gas your vehicle needs to burn through in order to travel the same distance. So here is another way of looking for fuel consumption. So this is an energy guide that you can find on your various vehicles. And this talks about small SUVs, so I'm assuming it's from a small SUV, but it doesn't actually tell us. It's something that would be on the vehicle if you're looking at buying vehicles, but it doesn't tell us exactly what it is on this tag. So the fuel consumption, they tell you it's 9.0, and this is a combined average. So it is 9.0 liters per 100 kilometers, right? That's what we measure in Canada. They also give you the 31 miles per gallon, which doesn't make any sense to me because I don't use miles or gallons, so that doesn't register in my brain, but works, that makes sense for other people. And this combined average is combining city driving and highway driving. So in the city, it costs more gas because you are stopping and starting and going slowly and speeding up, and that costs your vehicle, makes your vehicle use more fuel. Whereas we're on the highway and you're just driving at a constant speed, fairly constant speed, or you're slowing down a little bit and speeding up a little bit, but you're not stopping and then having to start all over again. Your vehicle uses less. So they average those two numbers together and get a combined fuel consumption rate of 9. So all of our fuel consumption rates when we're looking at, they're combining these two if they don't tell us separately. So then they tell us the average fuel cost, but again, so they're saying an annual distance of 20,000 kilometers, an average fuel price of $1.09 per liter, which is outdated information, right? Like we haven't seen $1.09 gas in quite a while. Right now we're at $2.09 gas. Like this is old information. It's what I could find to show us. So they give you an annual cost, but that's based on that distance driving, and that much per liter. So then they also tell you some carbon dioxide rating and smog rating, which is just in terms of your emissions that as you burn fuel, these are more emissions that you are adding into the air. This doesn't have to do with anything. We talked about how there's emissions that need to, in terms of making the vehicle, and that's not included here. This is just you're burning gas. And they also tell you a range in terms of what, for equivalent vehicles, what the range is for fuel consumption. So you can see that it falls in the middle of that for this particular vehicle. Okay, so then how do we actually calculate this? We walked through when there was a calculation already done to understand, but how do we actually calculate this so that we get useful information? So for this example, we have how many liters of gas are needed for a Ford F-150 to travel 637 kilometers when it gets 15.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So in order to figure out your fuel needed, so how many liters? So fuel needed, we'll just say, is equal to distance traveled. So how far you're going times fuel consumption. So we do distance traveled, we have 637 kilometers times fuel consumption, which is 15.4 liters, and per is like divided by 100 kilometers. So if your units can help you, if that is something that works for you, because we're multiplying something by kilometers and dividing by kilometers, those kilometers cancel off, which just means that we end up with liters, which is what we need. We need fuel, which is going to just give us some liters, because all we're going to have left is liters. So that's just one thing that if that helps you, great. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. But that's one thing that can help you make sense. So then to calculate that, sorry, okay, we want, so we do 637 times 15.4 divided by 100. So you can see on my Desmos, it sets it up just the same way that I have written here. So I can see that how it's working. And that gives us 98.098 liters. Liters, if you wanted to round it off, it would be 98.1 liters of fuel is needed to drive 637 kilometers in this Ford F-150. And that's how you find out how much gas your vehicle can go for a certain distance, how much you're actually going to need. So then if you know your tank size, then you can say, okay, then I'm going to need approximately to fill up 2 or 3 times to go that distance. Okay, so then here, how many more liters does a Subaru Impreza use to travel 30 kilometers in the city, where it's 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers, compared to on the highway, where it is 6.4 liters per 100 kilometers. Okay, so here we're comparing the same vehicle, but we're comparing city driving to highway driving. So we're gonna do the same thing. So we're figuring how much we need for the city and how much we need for the highway. But we're still looking for fuel needed. So fuel needed is equal to distance times consumption. So our distance is 30 kilometers and our consumption for the city is 8.3 per 100, right? We still need that per 100. So you can decide if you're going, if you want to convert this into a decimal by dividing by 100, or if you just want to do it all in the same time, you're going to get the same answer either way. So we're going to have 30 times 8.3 divided by 100 is equal to 2.49. So it takes 2.49 liters of fuel to drive in the city for 30 kilometers for the Subaru Impreza. So on the highway, it's the same thing, but we're using a different fuel consumption rate, right? Fuel is equal to distance times consumption. So our distance is still 30 kilometers, but now we're consuming less gas because we're driving on the highway. So 6.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So we're going to do that on a calculator. We have 30, our distance times 6.4 divided by 100 is equal to 1.92. 1.92. So have we answered the question? No, because it says how many more liters does a Subaru use to travel in the city compared to the highway. So we need to do one last thing. I'm going to squeeze it in here. I'm going to just drive myself a box so that I'm organized. It happens sometimes. You have to organize your information. So we want to figure out how much more the city is. So the city, take away the highway, is equal to 2.49, take away 1.92. You can either do that mentally if you want to, or you can do it on your calculator. 2.49, take away 1.92 is equal to 0.56. 0.57 liters. So you need 0.57 more liters to drive in the city. So there you go. That's how you would do one if you're comparing city driving to highway driving. All right, so now you can do the questions on sport questions on page 8, question number 5. So then our final piece is the cost of fuel. So the cost of fuel, this is on page 8 of your aisle book. And it's probably going to be outdated, the numbers that are in your aisle book, because the cost of fuel has gone up significantly. Even just from February of this year of 2022 to May of 2022, we've gone from an average of $1.78 up to almost $2.32. So in the last month or so, gas prices have really increased a lot. So your aisle booklet, which was written like 20 years ago, often says things like 97 cents per liter for gas, which is just ridiculous. In terms of our reality, I will be updating it hopefully for next year, but right now that's what it is. Use the numbers that are in your book. That is totally fine, but just know that they are not current reflections. It's just how much things have changed in the last 20 years. Gas prices have gone up significantly, and probably will continue to go up. And that is just the way things are right now. Okay, so how do we actually calculate how much it's going to cost us in gas? So the first thing is that we need to know how much gas needs to go in our tank. Rarely is our gas tank ever absolutely bone dry empty that we need to fill it up from zero, but still that's the basis that we're going to assume for our purposes, is that we're going to assume that we're filling up a gas tank from zero, from nothing, to just know, because then we know how much gas the size of our tank is. That's generally not what the reality is. You probably have it's good to fill up your tank if you have a quarter left, to not go below a quarter of your tank, just because then you might get yourself in a sticky situation. But that's not how we're going to calculate at this point. We're going to assume that we're calculating based on a empty tank. So we're going to calculate how much it would cost to fill up a 56.4 liter gas tank when gas costs $2.10 per liter. So I've put in higher values because that's more relevant to our reality. Again, use the numbers that are in your aisle book for your questions. So to figure out the total cost, we need the total liters. So the total tank size times the cost per liter. So we have 56.4 liters times $2.10 per liter. This is per 1 liter, right? So this time we don't have to divide by anything, because when we say per liter, we're talking about per 1. If we divide by 1, we're not changing anything. So again, your units cancel off and you end up with just dollars, which is what we want. We're going to calculate that. So we have 56.4 times 2.10 is equal to $118.44. When I look in specs, I haven't been able to figure out what the gas tank size is. I think that that's something that might be more standardized in terms of a van has a tank this size, a sedan has a tank this size, a truck has a tank this size. I don't know vehicles well enough to understand that. So I just sort of Google and get a number that seems reasonable, because this is completely outside of my knowledge space, is vehicle gas tank sizes. But you can look up specifically for your vehicle, even if it's not listed on your specs. You can look that up to figure out how much it's going to generally cost you to fill up your tank. So it would cost $118.44 to fill this tank. Okay, so now to make it a little bit trickier, calculate how much it would cost to drive 1,530 kilometers in a vehicle with fuel economy of 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers when gas cost $1.96 per liter. So there's a lot going on in this question. So basically it's saying, how much would it cost to drive this distance when gas is this cost in a vehicle that uses this much gas? So we need to figure out two steps. There's two things that we need to figure out. First, we need to figure out how much gas we use, and then we need to figure out how much that gas is going to cost. So first, there are always, for these sorts of questions, there's two steps. So fuel consumption, and then second, fuel cost. Okay, so we've calculated, we practiced both of these parts. We just need to put them together now. So fuel consumption, remember, is your distance times your consumption rate. So that is, for this question, 1,530 times your fuel economy, how much fuel you're using, 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So that is 1,530 times 7.4 divided by 100 is equal to 113.22 liters. My bad. 113.22 liters. So that's how much fuel this vehicle is going to consume to drive that distance. 113 liters, 0.22 liters of fuel. So then we take that number, because our fuel cost is our fuel consumed. So how much fuel? Fuel here, fuel used, is how I'm going to say it. So fuel used times cost. So our fuel used, we calculated. So that's 113.22 liters times $1.96 per liter. So we're going to use our calculator and have 113.22 times 1.96 is equal to $221.91. So it would cost $221.91 to drive 1,530 kilometers in this vehicle. So it's really important to do the two steps. This is why, remember how I say always, I say to show me your work. If you were to just write down this number, $221.91, but say you make a mistake and you write down the wrong number, there's no way for me to see where you made the mistake. Is it because you just randomly wrote down a number? You just wrote down $350. I don't know. Did you make a mistake that you left out a zero by accident? You did per 10 kilometers. And so that I can see that if you write out your work. If you show me all of your steps, then I don't have to take away all of the marks. If you just write down the wrong number at the end, and that's all you give me, I can give you zero because I have no idea. All I know is that it's wrong. If you show me your steps and I can figure out, oh, you had this step right, but you just left off a zero here. That's only half a mark off. That's not a big mistake. That was just a little mistake. And then you carried it through. You were consistently wrong but you had everything else connected, then I'm just going to take half a mark off instead of losing all of the marks. So that's why it's important to show me all of your steps, because then I can really understand what it is you understand and where you're making mistakes. Then it also means that I can help you figure out and learn from your mistakes and improve. So show me your work. This is so important. Okay, so now you can do the support questions on page 8 and 9, questions 6 and 7. So let's just do one. Let's do a problem where we wrap up, we connect all of the things that we've been doing. So the following are car expenses that Benny had in 1 year. What was his total yearly cost and his average monthly cost? So we can, here, we're going to look and see, okay, here if we have $69.99 in oil changes and we did 3 a year. That means in order to figure out my yearly costs, I need to do $69.99 times 3. So let's do that. Let's get everything into its yearly amount so that we can then add them together. So that's $209.97. So that's how much he spent in yearly oil changes. Monthly, he spent $426.15 on gas. So that means I need to do $426.15 times 12, because I spent that much, Benny spent that much every month. So 426.15 times 12 is equal to $5,113.80. Okay, spent $26.50 on wiper fluid, just spent that once. So we don't have to, that's yearly how much they spend it, so we don't have to do anything. $30 on an air filter, again, didn't do anything else. Monthly insurance, so that's $135 per month, so we have to times that by 12. So you have to go through each charge or each cost and figure out if you're, how many times it happens a year. 1,620 for insurance, and then $172.34 biweekly. Remember what biweekly means? Biweekly means every 2 weeks. There are 26 biweekly payments in a year. So we have to multiply that by 26. Great if I put a decimal place in. Okay. So that's $4,480.84. So those are, now we have it yearly for each of our things. So now we're going to add those up to figure out our total yearly cost. 209.97 plus 511.380 plus 26.50 plus 30 plus 1620 plus 4480.84. So total yearly expenses were $11,481.11. Yep. Okay. So that's your total yearly cost, or Benny's total yearly cost. So total monthly, we're going to divide that by 12. $956.76. $956.76 is your total monthly or average monthly cost. That's how you figure out those. I haven't written it out most beautifully, but we're getting short on time. So okay, I'll quickly do this. I'm not going to do, okay, so Cat needs new winter tires. How much will the winter tires cost per HST? So we need 4 winter tires. So they're $49.95. And then we need to add HST. So I'm going to just do that all in one step, just because we're almost out of time, but I just want to get through this to show the tricky part. So for winter tires is $199.80, and then times 113 is $225.77. So including the tax is $225.77. So how much will it cost per month if we keep them for 4 years? So what that means is that we take $225.77 and we're going to divide it by 48 because there's 12 months in a year and we're dividing it by 48. There's 4 years. So it costs $4.70 per year, per month, $4.70 per month for those tires. And then how much are you going to do it if you're going to drive it for a total of 4 winters? So you do your, over the 4 winters, you have 30,246 kilometers divided by your total yearly cost, which is $225.77. And that tells us how much it costs over per kilometer. No, I did it the wrong way. How much the tires per kilometer? You want to switch them. Sorry, running out of time means that I'm making mistakes. So you're doing 225.77 divided by 3,246 is equal to 0.007. So so it's 1 cent per kilometer. Because we need to switch that. I did it wrong because it was per kilometer, right? So I'm dividing by kilometer. Okay, if you have questions about that, let me know and we will spend more time on that together. So our consolidation, we did general user costs, fuel efficiency, and fuel costs. So hopefully that all makes sense to you. Sorry to rush at the end. Hopefully this lesson 16 really makes sense. If you have questions, please contact me in the usual ways. I'm always here to help, even when I have to rush through the end because we're out of time. No worries. I'll help you out if you just reach out and contact me. Have a great day. Thanks so much for joining me. Bugaj.